It's TMNT time! Hello, welcome to another figure review. Today we're going to have a look at the Super7 Ultimates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Scratch figure. Who the hell is Scratch? Well, I feel like a lot of casual TMNT fans and viewers don't know about this character, but there's a huge history behind this one because it's one of the most looked after, one of the most expensive, one of the hardest to get TMNT figures from the original line. It's a cat in basically like a prison outfit, and I first of all like cats. I always like the design of this figure, this character in general, even though it never showed up in anything. Like the only time I can remember seeing Scratch was like TMNT free Radical Rescue on the freaking Game Boy. So there's your history for this video, and well, let's get the figure and see how it stacks up to the original. This cool cat stands at about 16.5 centimeters to the top of his prison hat, a little bit over that, and we're going up to 6.5, almost 6.6 inches tall. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, the SH Figure Art Son Goku, Nendoroid, Minato Aqua, Naka, Michelangelo, Super7 Leonardo, the Shredder, the big bulky Slash, and Darkseid. So anyway, the big mystery of Scratch. Why is this one so rare? Well, it was so rare back in the day because it was one of the later TMNT lines, but other than that, yeah, there's like almost zero relation to the shows and whatnot. The only thing I can think of is, as I mentioned before, the Game Boy game where he actually was a boss, but there was also the TMNT Archie comics, like the TMNT Adventures, where they had a version where they had a cat also wearing like a prison uniform, but I think it was like all purple and pink and whatnot. So that's not what this is all about, but how does this guy stack up? And I actually forgot to bring this out for the size comparison, but here it is, real quick. The original Scratch figure. How does it stack up? Is it the same thing? And I'm happy to say, oh my god, I think, like, really the accuracy is amazing. Like, there's only the one thing you could say is, obviously the colors are going to be different because this one's a lot more shiny, a lot more plasticky. But the one thing they did make is you have the nail file, which is just molded on the figure. Here you have a rope, but on the flip side, on the previous version, it was like a metal chain around his neck, and now they just have rope. That's, yeah, unfortunate. And also, there's like the scratches. That's one of my favorite parts about these newer figures. You still have the scratches molded in here, but not painted because it's just a kid's toy and they couldn't be bothered. But in the newer version, we actually have that. The ball and chain, though, however, are completely absent from the original. While you do have the shackle around the leg, but there's no ball and chain on it. And just having a quick look at the back. More of the same with the tail wrapped. Oh, there's also like an extra detail on the tail, which we don't even have on the original. So that's enough for the comparison, but the figure itself, I mean, I love it. It's really big. It's nice and cartoony with the bright colors, and the face sculpt has so much charm to it. Love the eyes, and also the paint job on there is cleanly done. You have the teeth molded and painted on there. For whatever reason, it's kind of bashed in there. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Let's go back to this one real quick. Oh yeah, he straight up had a missing tooth in the original. But here they kind of painted it still. That's just weird. Other than that, you can say there's not really any bleeding going on. Usually when we have like the stuff with the hats, that kind of tends to happen. But with this one, no. We also have the headband that wraps around, and I guess the white over here is a little bit unclean. There's also a little bit of dry brushing going on, especially in the fur. You can tell there's like the browner parts that kind of elevate from the light brown, you know, the dark brown, which has like the more orangey tone as the rest of the figure has. There's also a little bit in the ear, and it's very small, very light, and I think it's good. I think you don't really overdo it, and on the flip side though, there's no dry brushing on the prison uniform this time around, and I know I talked about this in great length with Slash, how they do like dry brushing on some parts and no dry brushing on other parts. With this one, I'm not really bothered by it, but ooh, we have some ugly brown going over it. Brown on the white, that's really unfortunate. But going back to the front of the figure, we have the 0009 and some scratches in the uniform a little bit over here and over there, which I mean, the figure is called Scratch. Also have the claws, speaking of which, nicely painted with the nails on there. We have a little dot over there. Goes a little bit over the line and back to the nail file. We talked about this beforehand, but there it is. Detail, molded, and just has like the nice light blue. If my camera will focus on it, thank you very much. There you have that bit of detail, and going down to the crotch piece and the tail in the back, which is on a ball. I mean, we'll get to the articulation, but I just kind of find it weird how it's on a ball and doesn't really have room to move around, so we just have some wiggle motion. And then back to the tail, as I mentioned, we have this wrap, which they added to it. Has a little bit of bleeding, but it's not, this bleeding is a little bit more annoying, and we have another hole in the outfit. Now, what kind of prison uniform does have a thing for the tail anyway? I want to know. Well, I want to know. I guess it's like a mutant prison. And back to the shackle, and another thing. Well, you know what? I say that in the articulation once more, but we have some inconsistencies in the feet, and also nails over here. And yeah, the ball with a real chain, which, however, though, is permanently attached. There's nothing to open this up and take this out. So if you're bothered by it, well, tough luck. I guess kind of wrap it around the tail, and so it's a little bit less in a way. But yeah, can't get rid of the ball and the chain. So for the articulation, towards standard stuff for the Super 7 lineup, the head goes back and forth, tilt side to side, and does go all the way around. Not the greatest. They didn't really leave that much room in the head itself. You really could have hauled it out a little bit more, but you know, they weren't about that. And you have the hinge in the arm. This one doesn't really go up as much. I feel like I got a little bit more out of this one the other day. Yeah, there we go. Can move this one up. This one, maybe because of all of the molding on the arm, maybe it's a little bit more blocked, maybe it's frozen. Can also swivel this around, and you have another simple hinge in the elbow, which you can also swivel pretty much all the way. Let me try it out. Yeah, there we go. And then we have hands, which sometimes have an up and down hinge, and hands that sometimes have a side to side hinge. This figure out of the box comes with both of them. We'll have a look at the rest of the hands in just a second. Then we have the chest area, which can move around. Fairly nimble, does tilt side to side, and doesn't really swivel straight. So as I showed you can kind of bring it side to side, but it doesn't really go all the way around, basically because of this thing in the side. While the molding, how it's kind of torn up, gets in the way. I guess you could push it, but I don't want to break anything off. You can see the plastic over here bending a little bit too much. And then for the hips, the waist part does have a swivel, which is fairly nicely hidden. I like how it's molded on the side over here with the prison uniform, so it looks kind of like a shirt. And yeah, you have the swivel, but as you can tell, I feel like it doesn't really go all the way as well. So it's like super stiff, well, it's not meant to go all the way around. Then the leg moves forward, moves out to the side quite nicely, and also moves to the back fairly decent enough. And you can also rotate this on the ball itself. Have a simple hinge in the knee, can also be swivel around. And then for the foot, both feet have a hinge. However, the problem with the one where you see the claw, it goes back and forth, no problem there, but you do not have a pivot because the pack goes in straight. As such, you can swivel it around, but not pivot. If you make the pack go in a little bit of an angle, you fix that, but Super 7, they already screw that up with like backs of stock, man. The shoe, on the other hand, does have a pivot, so that one is the better foot, and also goes back and forth. Well, it's not as nimble going back and forth, but still. Also, by the way, how does this foot go into this shoe? I want to know. That makes no sense, but that's beside the point. That's how the figure looked at the original, so you know, not a complaint. So, for the accessories, one of my personal favorite features for the original lineup was when they came with a little buddy figure. Unfortunately, I don't have the accessories of the original Scratch because I just got the figure way back for like, what was it, like even 80 bucks, and I was happy with that, so that's... Accessories are very expensive. Anyway, so we have this bird guy. I don't really know his name, but very nicely molded and painted. There's no articulation though, however, but you know, the originals didn't have any. I really, really like this because I remember this original just being in yellow because like they didn't have any paint on the original accessories. Then we have another face gun where it's kind of gritting the teeth on this side and having the mouth closed on the other side, and looking to the side, and I quite like this face also. I'm a big fan of that one. Then for the hands, you have like these kind of open, clawing hands, but also semi-holding hands, I guess. And then these more open, really going for the goods hands, and the two fist hands. And by the way, All the hands that come with the figure have the hinge that go up and down. There's only the figure, the one that's on the figure, this one, the right hand, which goes up and down. So keep that in mind for your posing. And then also we do have the money bag, classic cartoon money bag with a dollar symbol and a bunch of nice and shiny coins, which are bent though. That's takes you out of the illusion. Bent money. All right. Yeah, but I like the shine on it. Also, I like the mold on the bag itself. As you can tell, there's some texture in that, so that's really cool. We have the cake gun. Yes, just repeat that. Repeat after me. The cake gun. The baby blue gun with the cake around it. It looks awesome. And then we have also a fish. Same baby blue color scheme, which I don't know what's going on over here. It looks like at the top part, Scratch has taken a bite out of it, but they didn't paint that. So I feel like this should be the gills, and also in the lower half should be the gills. But they just left it blue and painted the eyes, which, I don't know. I have another nail file, a way bigger one this time. A little bit also bent and a little bit used up, a little bit crackly. And we do have, did I have a look at these hands? I think we had a look at these hands. Kind of everything fell down when I tried to move this guy. And the ball and chain just wrecking the shop. And then we also have the entire collection of accessories, even with the ball and chain, just in the plastic. But yeah, in the original cartoon style, unpainted, and all kind of connected with each other. I always keep that for the collection, but obviously you can't take this off if you want to. And looking at this, I actually remember I forgot the hammer, which has the most paint of all the accessories. Still has the same baby blue on the top, but you also have like the screws in there, which are painted, and also some very, very nice texturing. It makes it look almost realistic, like realistic wood, on such a cartoony character. Nice. Final thoughts, and I love this figure. It's one of the very strong releases, I think, in size. Articulation is mostly standard, but also the paint job on it. I have very little issues with it. Yeah, there's some stuff in there, but still, it really captures the look. It really captures the style of the old school toy. That's just what it screams like. Really, the paint job and everything, the bright colors, and also it's just a very cool inclusion to the line, because I know this is a character that a lot of collectors are hungry for. Something that's really hard to get, and you know, while it's not the original one, it's still something that really fits well with the TMNT. And I just overall, I always like the character. I always like the design of it, even though it's very simple, but still, it does the job. And this recreation by Super7, absolutely, I love it. So I will recommend it. I don't really have any huge issues with it, other than, I guess, the ball and chain that you can't take that off. It's kind of annoying, really moving it around, getting it into position, especially if you play around with your figures. That might come into play, but still, other than that, no, I don't have any big issues with this figure. I love it, and that's gonna do it, really. I don't want to ramble any longer. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever Scratch wants.